This is Gregory Mikell, your host and moderator for Being Social, the weekly live on-air broadcast, not limited to radio waves, but accessible to millions of users around the globe via the internet or phone, where all that you need is a voice, a concern, and a longing to be heard for social causes. Join us this evening at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time here in the States for Episode 6 of Being Social, as we explore the topic of high-speed rail in America to have or have not. We'll take a look at the history of the U.S. railway system's inception as well as its potential and why its progress has stalled in recent years. We'll also look at the industry that necessitated its invention. How is today's technology affecting the need for high-speed rail? We'll also further explore the economic impact of not investing more in high-speed rail, the ever-growing shift to inner-city living and its influence on progress of high-speed rail in the U.S., the success of Europe's rail system compared to the U.S. Is there any progress being made? We'll also look at the political aspects of high-speed rail in America. High-speed rail development was said to be one of many goals of the Obama administration, which came into office in January of 2009. And although they've made landmark reforms such as Obamacare, no such project for high-speed rail has been started under his tenure as president, and none will be completed by the time he leaves office in 2016. Some obvious benefits of high-speed rail are, well, in recent years, high jet fuel prices, congested airports and highways, and increased airport security rules all combined to make high-speed rail a more attractive option for passengers. A study conducted by the International Union of Railways indicated that high-speed rail trains produce 5 times less CO2 emissions than automobiles and jet aircraft. A brief history. The high-speed interurbans 1920 to 1941. During the period from 1900 to 1941, the majority of interurban travel was conducted by rail in the United States. Rail transportation was not high-speed by modern standards, but intercity travel often averaged speeds between 40 and 65 miles per hour, or 64 to 105 kilometers per hour. Post-war period 1945 to 1960. U.S. passenger rail usage continued much the same as it had before World War II during the affluent post-war. By the 1950s, however, the construction of the U.S. interstate highway system and the jet airliner made long-distance travel overland possible in new ways, and traffic on American passenger trains began to decline significantly. The first attempts at high-speed rail from 1960 to 1990. Immediately following the creation of Japan's first high-speed Shinkansen, U.S. President Lyndon B. Johnson, as part of his Great Society Infrastructure Building Initiatives, asked the U.S. Congress to devise a way to increase speeds on American railroads. Thus, Congress delivered the High-Speed Ground Transportation Act of 1965, which passed with overwhelming bipartisan support and helped to create regular metro liner service between New York City and Washington, D.C. Imagine that. There was a time when the parties actually worked together for the people's interest. Lessons to be learned from history. The new service was inaugurated in 1969, and speeds reaching 200 kilometers per hour or 125 miles per hour and averaging 145 kilometers along the route, faster than even Acela Express today, going from New York to Washington. What? I know. My thoughts too. Clearly, the United States has its own definition of high-speed rail. The U.S. government considers high-speed rail service to be rail service of 110 miles per hour or 180 kilometers or higher. In Europe, the definition of a minimum speed for newly built high-speed railway is 250 kilometers or 155 miles per hour. For upgraded high-speed railways, it is 200 kilometers per hour. Thanks, guys, for embarrassing us once again. During the period from 1900 to 1941, most of the major railroads has faster than normal trains called express trains on their mainline routes, for example, the Empire State Express between major towns and cities. Now, during the 1930s, railroads began to develop even faster express service than the previous streamliner trains, which provided express trains. The High-Speed Ground Transportation Act of 1965, despite plans for high-speed rail dating back to the High-Speed Ground Transportation Act of 1965, in 2012 Amtrak proposed a $151 billion plan to build its first dedicated high-speed rail line by 2040. Give Amtrak points for trying. Amtrak's proposal called for construction of a high-speed capable rail line that would allow for a speed of 220 miles per hour, faster than any existing line in the world, which would cut trips between New York City and Washington, D.C. to 94 minutes. That's very significant. Bear in mind that Acela uses only conventional rail, whose top speed is lower and can be reached over short distances only. It has an average speed of between 68 and 82 miles per hour, or 109 to 132 kilometers per hour on its routes between Boston and New York and Washington, D.C. Acela's travel time between Washington and New York is 2 hours and 53 minutes compared to 2 hours and 30 minutes for Pacific Railroad's nonstop Metroliner in 1969, or an average speed of 79 miles per hour. Schedules between New York and Boston is 3 hours and 34 minutes, an average speed of only 63 miles per hour, with a 15-minute layover in New York. The entire end-to-end trip averages 68 miles per hour. Acela expressed and renewed interest in high-speed rail. In 1993, the U.S., taking note of the success of high-speed rail in Europe, attempted to improve service between Boston and New York by electrifying the Northeast Corridor north of New Haven, Connecticut, and purchasing new train sets to replace the now 30-year-old Metroliners and run on the newly electrified route. Some existing trains, the Swedish X2000 and German Ice 1, were tested, but finally the Acela, a new tilting train manufactured by Alstom and Bombardier, were selected. The largest project for America's high-speed rail is the California High-Speed Rail Network, which had yet to break ground in February of 2013 despite being approved by taxpayers in 2008 under the California Proposition 1A. That's 5 years. The taxpayers said, yes, we'll pay for it. Most high-speed rail systems use electricity for power, of course, so they lessen dependency on petroleum and can be powered by renewable energy sources or nuclear power such as Japan and France. Well, maybe not Japan. Perhaps this is where the political interests come in, lobbying anyway. Alternatives to Amtrak. Private sector consortiums intending to build high-speed lines were created in Florida, Ohio, Texas, California, and Nevada. Maglev trains became a new field of interest. They were officially added to the definition of railroad in 1988, and were studied repeatedly. 5 high-speed corridors were officially endorsed in October 1992 following passage of the Intermodal Surface Transportation Efficiency Act of 1991. The Northeast Maglev Proposal. In 2012, the Maglev, a small firm in Washington, D.C. with backing from the Central Japan Railway. The company proposed a new high-speed rail service along the Northeast Corridor with initial service between Washington, D.C. and New York City. The proposal calls for use of maglev technology, which will require building the brand new track and system separately from the Amtrak NEC and NEC NextGen networks. If these and other topics are important to you, do join us by phoning in at 562-645-3551, where I'll be standing by each week on Sunday evenings at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And share your input with friends by forwarding the recorded broadcast later in the week to your friends, peers in your network who might share similar interests by simply searching for Podcast Being Social. Join us each week again on Google Hangout or by phone. You can RSVP at eventbrite.com, where you'll see this broadcast and the remaining season's programming, of which you're sure to find something of interest. If not, and you have another topic of concern, don't hesitate to email us at admin@acclaimtheatricals.com with your suggestion, and perhaps we will air your topic later this fall as part of Season 2. And if you missed last week's broadcast, Episode 5, Breaking Down Obama Healthcare, you can listen or watch for free by going to acclaimtheatricals.com or gregorymikell.com, as well as YouTube and Vimeo. This program is distributed by Acclaim Theatricals, LLC, broadcast from Manhattan absolutely free. It's without fees that we can be sure to provide our forum participants with an unbiased platform and are given one less reason not to take an active role as a concerned citizen. We can be contacted at admin@acclaimtheatricals.com on our company site as well as Eventbrite. And if you wish to speak with us, do phone in at 562-645-3551 during the evening's broadcast, as well as throughout the work week with queries or topics for future programming. While visiting our feeds, feel free to sign up for our monthly newsletter, which is being released this coming Tuesday, June 17th, where you'll be provided with the full season's programming of topics, among which you're welcome to participate. Thank you for joining us, and come again for next week's Episode 7, America's Role in Foreign Policy Now. That's Sunday, June 23rd at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There are 19 free tickets remaining available on Eventbrite. This is Gregory Mikell, your host and moderator, saying goodnight.